My father stole my future for a woman I never knew. For 20 years, I hated him with every fiber of my being. But at 40 years old, standing in his empty apartment after his funeral, I found a letter that shattered everything I believed. The money didn't go to his girlfriend. It went somewhere I never could have imagined, and the truth broke me in ways I wasn't prepared for. This is the story of how I spent half my life hating a man who sacrificed everything for someone I didn't even know existed. My own sister. I grew up in a small town where everybody knew everybody's business. My name is Daniel, and for the first 12 years of my life, I thought I had the perfect family. My dad, Robert, was my hero. He worked at the local factory during the day and fixed cars in our garage at night just to make extra money. His hands were always covered in grease. His back was always tired, but his smile never faded when he looked at me. My mom, Catherine, was the heart of our home. She baked cookies on Sunday mornings, helped me with my homework every night, and sang old songs while she did the dishes. We didn't have much money, but we had love. And back then, that felt like more than enough. Every night before bed, my dad would sit on the edge of my mattress and tell me the same thing. "Danny boy," he'd say with pride in his voice, "I'm saving up for your future. One day you're gonna go to college, become something big, and make your old man proud." I believed him. Every single word. My dad had started a college fund the day I was born. He put a little bit of money into it every month, no matter how tight things got. Sometimes that meant he skipped lunch at work. Sometimes that meant he wore the same boots for 3 years straight, even when the soles were falling apart. But he never missed a deposit. That fund was his dream for me, and I grew up knowing that no matter what happened, my future was secure. But everything changed when I turned 12. That was the year my mother got sick. Cancer. The word hit our family like a freight train. One day she was singing in the kitchen, and the next she was lying in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of her arms. I remember sitting in that cold waiting room, watching my dad age 10 years in a matter of months. He sold his car to pay for her treatments. He worked double shifts until his body nearly gave out, but none of it was enough. My mother passed away on a rainy Tuesday in October. I remember, because the sky cried with us that day. My dad held me so tight I could barely breathe, and for the first time in my life, I saw him completely broken. The house felt empty after that. The cookies stopped. The songs stopped. Everything that made our home feel alive was gone. For 2 years, it was just me and my dad. We didn't talk much. Grief has a way of building walls between people, even when they love each other. But I knew he was still working hard, still saving, still trying to give me a future. At least that's what I thought. Then she showed up. Her name was Linda. She appeared out of nowhere one summer afternoon, knocking on our front door like she belonged there. She was pretty, I guess, with long brown hair and a soft voice. My dad introduced her as a friend, but I could see something in his eyes that made my stomach turn. Within a few months, Linda was coming over almost every day. She'd cook dinner, clean the house, and sit with my dad on the porch, talking in hushed voices. I hated her from the start. How could he move on so fast? How could he let another woman into our home, into my mother's kitchen, using my mother's pots and pans? I was just a kid, but I felt betrayed. I'd hear them talking late at night when they thought I was asleep. My dad would say things like, "We have to figure this out," and "I'll find a way to get the money." I didn't understand what they were talking about, but something felt wrong. Then came the day that changed everything. I was 14 years old, a sophomore in high school, already dreaming about which college I'd attend. My dad sat me down at the kitchen table with a look on his face I'd never seen before. It was guilt mixed with something I couldn't identify. "Danny," he said slowly, "I need to tell you something. Your college fund, it's gone." I didn't understand at first. "What do you mean gone?" I asked. "Where did it go?" He couldn't look me in the eyes. "I had to use it," he said quietly, "for something important." It took me a few days to piece it together. The whispered conversations, the constant visits from Linda, the money disappearing right when she showed up. It didn't take a genius to figure it out. My father had spent my entire future on his girlfriend. Every dollar he'd saved for 12 years. Every sacrifice he'd made. Gone. All for some woman who wasn't even my mother. I confronted him that night with tears streaming down my face. "You spent it on her, Didn't you? I screamed. You gave my future to that woman. My dad tried to explain, tried to say it wasn't what I thought, but I wouldn't listen. I couldn't listen. The betrayal was too deep, too painful. How could you do this to me? I yelled. Mom would be ashamed of you. I'll never forget the look on his face when I said those words. It was like I'd stabbed him right through the heart. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just sat there in silence, letting me hate him. And hate him. I did. From that moment on, I barely spoke to my father. I stopped calling him Dad and started calling him Robert. I refused to eat dinner with him. I spent as much time out of the house as possible, crashing at friends' places, working part-time jobs, counting the days until I could leave for good. When I turned 18, I left that house and never looked back. I worked my way through community college, taking out loans, flipping burgers, doing whatever it took to survive. I was determined to succeed without him, to prove that I didn't need his stolen money or his broken promises. Years passed. But I got my degree eventually, landed a decent job, built a life for myself. But the bitterness never left. It sat in my chest like a stone, heavy and cold, weighing me down every single day. My father tried to reach out over the years. Birthday cards I threw away. Phone calls I ignored. Christmas gifts I returned unopened. He even showed up at my apartment once, looking older and frailer than I remembered. I closed the door in his face. Linda eventually disappeared from his life. I heard through relatives that she moved away a few years after I left. Good riddance, I thought. She got what she wanted and left him with nothing. Just like he left me. 20 years went by like this. 20 years of silence, resentment, and unanswered questions. I got married, had 2 kids of my own, and built a life that looked successful on the outside. But inside, I was still that 14-year-old boy crying at the kitchen table, wondering why his father chose a stranger over him. Then I got the call that changed everything. My father had passed away. Heart attack, died alone in his small apartment with nobody beside him. For a moment, just a moment, I felt something crack inside my chest, but I pushed it down. He made his choices. Primera told myself. He deserved to die alone. I almost didn't go to the funeral. My wife convinced me, saying I'd regret it if I didn't. So I went, stood in the back, and watched them lower a stranger into the ground. Because that's what he was to me now. A stranger. After the service, his lawyer handed me a box. Your father left this for you, he said. It's everything he had. I didn't want it. Whatever guilt, money, or worthless junk he left behind meant nothing to me. But I took the box anyway and shoved it in my closet without opening it. It sat there for 3 months, collecting dust while I pretended it didn't exist. Then one night, I couldn't sleep. Something was pulling at me, nagging at the back of my mind like an itch I couldn't scratch. I found myself standing in front of my closet at 2 in the morning, staring at that dusty box. With trembling hands, I opened it. Inside were old photographs, some legal documents, and a sealed envelope with my name written in my father's handwriting. Danny. I sat on the floor and opened the letter. What I read next destroyed me. My dear son, it began. If you're reading this, then I'm gone and I never got the chance to tell you the truth face to face. I tried so many times, but you wouldn't listen. And maybe I didn't try hard enough. Maybe I was too ashamed. But you deserve to know everything, even if it's too late. Your college fund didn't go to Linda. Linda was never my girlfriend. She was a nurse, a caretaker. The money went to someone else. Someone I should have told you about a long time ago. Danny, you have a sister. Her name is Emma. I stopped breathing. A sister? I had a sister. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. I forced myself to keep reading. Before I met your mother, I made a mistake. I was young and foolish, and I got a woman pregnant. She didn't want me involved, so she raised Emma on her own. I didn't even know about her until she was 10 years old. By then, I was already married to your mother and we had you. I wanted to tell Catherine, but I was scared of losing everything, so I kept it a secret. The biggest regret of my life. When you were 12, right after your mother passed, Emma's mother contacted me. Emma was dying. She had a rare heart condition and needed a surgery that cost more money than anyone could afford. Her mother had tried everything, sold her house, borrowed from everyone she knew, but it still wasn't enough. Emma was going to die without that operation. The letter continued, and each word hit me like a hammer. I had to make a choice, Danny. The hardest choice any father could ever make. I could save your future, or I could save your sister's life. I chose life. I gave every penny of your college fund to pay for Emma's surgery. Linda was her nurse. She helped coordinate everything and took care of Emma during her recovery. That's why she was always at our house. That's why we talked in secret. I was trying to protect you from a truth I thought would hurt you. Tears were streaming down my face now, soaking the paper in my hands. The surgery worked. Emma survived. She grew up, got married, had children of her own. She's alive today because of that money, because of your sacrifice, even though you never knew you were making it. I wanted to tell you so many times, but every time I tried, you looked at me with so much hate that I couldn't find the words. And then years went by, and the wall between us got so high that I didn't know how to climb it anymore. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, Danny. I know I don't deserve it. I kept too many secrets and let you believe the worst about me for too long. But I need you to know that I never stopped loving you, not for one single day. And I hope that someday, maybe, you'll find it in your heart to understand. Your father, Robert. I sat there on my closet floor, sobbing like a child. 20 years. 20 years. For 20 years, I had hated this man, cursed his name, wished him dead. And all along, he had been carrying a burden so heavy it crushed him in silence. He didn't steal my future. He saved a life. He saved my sister's life. At the bottom of the box, I found another envelope. Inside was Emma's contact information and a photograph. A woman about my age with my father's eyes and my grandmother's smile. My sister. A stranger who existed because of a sacrifice I never knew was made. It took me 2 weeks to gather the courage to call her. When she answered the phone, I could barely speak. Emma, I said, my voice cracking. This is Daniel. I think I'm your brother. The silence on the other end felt like an eternity. Then I heard her crying. I've been waiting for this call my whole life, she whispered. Dad told me about you. He said you hated him, but he never told me why. We talked for 3 hours that first night. She told me about her surgery, about how she almost died at 15, about how a mysterious donation saved her life. She never knew where the money came from until our father told her years later. A month later, I flew across the country to meet her. When she opened the door and I saw her face for the first time, it was like looking at a piece of myself I never knew was missing. We hugged for so long that my arms went numb, but I didn't care. I had a sister, I had family I never knew existed. We visited our father's grave together. I stood there for a long time, staring at the headstone, trying to find the right words. I'm sorry, I finally said. I'm so sorry, Dad. I spent my whole life hating you for something you never did. You saved her. You saved Emma. And I never even gave you a chance to explain. Emma put her hand on my shoulder. He forgave you, she said softly. He told me that 100 times. He said you were hurt, and hurt people do hurtful things. He never blamed you, not once. I fell to my knees and wept. All those years wasted, all those birthday cards I threw away, all those phone calls I ignored, I could never get them back. My father died thinking I hated him, and I could never undo that pain. But I could honor his memory. I could make sure his sacrifice meant something. Emma and I are close now. Our children play together, celebrate holidays together, grow up knowing their family. I tell them about their grandfather, about the quiet hero who gave up everything to save a life. I tell them that sometimes love looks like sacrifice, and sometimes the people we judge the harshest are carrying burdens we know nothing about. If my father taught me anything, it's this. Don't wait until it's too late to seek the truth. Don't let pride and anger build walls that become impossible to tear down. And never, ever assume you know someone's whole story based on the chapter you happen to see. I spent 20 years hating a man who loved me more than I'll ever understand. I can't get those years back, but I can make sure I never make that mistake again. And every night before I go to sleep, I look up at the sky and whisper the words I should have said when he was still alive. Thank you, Dad. I love you. and I'm sorry. Friends, if this story touched your heart, drop a comment and tell me what lesson it taught you. Let me know what country you're watching from. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss more stories like this one. There's more waiting for you right on your screen. Thank you for staying with me until the end.